Well, welcome back to the third and final part of this adventure to help you understand your results. This is a discussion about the 10 questions that were asked of you when you're in conflict. And we're going to look at the conflict sequence results. And this is once again my results. And we are going to look specifically at this other section. And pardon my lack of drawing skills, but here is the area that we're going to look at. We're going to look at this area. And as you can see from my results, we're looking at, again, the tip of the arrow. We're looking just at the arrow. The tip of the arrow just designates your first stage conflict sequence. And so we'll get into explaining that specifically, but for me, I'll give you the example. Mine is blue. I start with blue, 48, highest number. Then I go to green, and then I go to red. And it even will tell you this. It'll say, this sequence indicates a blue, green, red conflict sequence. Just as it did with the motivational value system, MVS, this also goes on to say, my conflict arrowhead is close to the borders of blue, red, green, bracketed red, green, and blue, green, red. Blue-green bracketed conflict sequences. So as we look, we will see once again that if you take this test multiple times, this is the area where you will show up. Your arrowhead will show up in some location in this general location. And that's why when we look further at my results, we see that as this is broken up into the 13 conflict sequences, you'll see that mine shows up right here. So my arrowhead, the tip of my arrow showed up right in this area. So therefore, I am likely, my sequence is likely blue, green, red, which it is, but it could also potentially be blue, red, green, or blue, green, red. And as we look, we're going to see that you will receive this interpretive guide, and this interpretive guide page explains your conflict sequence. Tells you a little bit about preventing conflict, and then it goes into the stages. And like I said, this is a order, not a system, but an order or sequence. So therefore, stage one is when we are in stage one conflict, we look at the self, ourselves, the problem, and others. In stage two conflict, we just look at ourselves and the problem, and in stage three, we just look at ourselves. So it's almost like DEPCON 1, 2, and 3. DEPCON 1, kind of where I work most of the time in the ER, is just a steady state place of conflict. Then DEPCON 2 is when we start to forget about the other person involved and just look at ourselves and the problem. So the wheels are starting to get a little wobbly. And then stage 3 is when the wheels fall off and all craziness breaks loose. And so these are the internal experiences that you will experience when you're in conflict. And then down below that is a guide to the observable behavior in conflict. And so it's important to keep in mind that in mine, and I'll give you mine as an example, I start out internally thinking blue when I'm in conflict, simply being accommodating to the needs of others. Then I will go to green, which is trying to escape from the opposition. And then finally, I will end up in red, fighting for survival or having to fight for one's life. So an example of this in my life is seeing my wife, who has the same conflict sequence, blue, green, red, deal with my son, my oldest son, teenager, need I say more, teenager who recently was not getting ready for school. So my wife asked for him to get ready for school, and his response was, let me just finish looking at this last thing. Now, the blue response to that is accommodate others. So her behavior was, as I'm watching this unfold, okay, Noah, no problem, I'll give you a few more minutes. 10 minutes later, he's still not ready or gotten ready for school. So now she's going to shift into another conflict stage. She's now going to DEPCON 2. So now she's down into this area where she's going to pull back and analyze. And sure enough, as I'm watching this unfold, she says, Noah, if you're late, these are going to be the consequences, and this is what's going to happen. So she gives a very green answer, a very answer of basically pulling back, analyzing, and giving that response. And that's her behavior. Sure enough, 15 minutes later, he has not gotten ready for school, and now the wheels are wobbling and falling off, and lights and sirens occur, and she is very cute when she gets this way, but she starts screaming and yelling and loses it. And so now she's in this red mode, this stage 3 red mode, which is fight for survival. So that's how this unfolds in our household. And it unfolds differently depending on the conflict stages that you have, or your spouse has, or your coworker has. So that's what's important in how to understand this. The more you understand it, the better you're going to be. This is a brief slide to explain what happens when, what the brackets are all about, and what happens when two of your numbers are within 6 points of each other. So you can see with this person, they're clearly, their arrow tip is in green, so their first stage is 53 is green, their second stage is red, and their third is blue. However, and this is what it shows, right? Green is first stage, simply being prudent and cautious. Their second stage would be red, having to fight off the opposition, and their third stage would be blue, which is having been completely defeated and just withdraw and go away. Therefore, that's their sequence. However, within 6 points, you bracket these, meaning that this person likely, depending on the circumstance, will either respond in stage 2 as red or respond in stage 2 as blue, and vice versa. So I hope that makes sense and explains that. So once again, looking back at my results, I was in this area. So what I did when I got this result, and this is one of your actual sheets from your interpretive guide, I want you to take this sheet and I want you to explore those areas. So what ended up happening to me, once again, is I took this and I read this and I went, wow, this is definitely me. I looked also at blue, red, green. I looked at all these because I really love this stuff. But I looked at blue, red, green, and I said, oh, that sounds like me a little bit. And then I looked at blue, green, red, which is again close to my general area of where my conflict sequence probably lies, and maybe a little bit of this was me. So as you can see, clearly blue, green, red is the place for me. This is my conflict sequence. And that's what I'd like you to do, is look at your results and then just kind of explore and find which one of these is you. And that's how I want you to proceed with that. So the goal for the conflict sequence is declare yourself, or declare your conflict sequence as I am blue, green, red. And understand that and embrace that, and that's the goal. The second goal is to recognize the different ways people show up in conflict. And this gets, as you explore more, you'll learn more about this. One example I wanted to give, which has really been great at work, is one of the charge nurses has taken SDI, and her conflict sequence is bracketed red or blue in the beginning, and typically she starts red. And my conflict sequence on this certain day, I was in DEPCON 2 conflict sequence. I could feel it, I knew it, I sensed it. And so I came to her very early on in my shift at work and I said, hey, I'm at DEPCON 2, I'm in conflict because there's a lot of stuff going on, so I'm green, so I need that green space. And she said, okay, great, thank you, Dr. Lawson, that's really helpful. 2 hours later, she checked in with me and said, how are you doing? Are you back to blue yet? Where are you at in your green stage? And I definitely felt, and I felt heard, and I felt I was much more productive and less stressed because she gave me that space. She recognized I was in a green place, and she gave me that space that I needed to recover back to stage 1 conflict, or even out of conflict completely. So that's a great idea of how to play with this at work, and there's much more to follow. And I'm really grateful you took this time to look at these parts to understand your conflict sequence and your motivational value system. And just in closing, the final slide is just for completeness. In your your interpretive guide, you will see this last page, and this last page dovetails into several other SDI tools that we can explore together or in a group, which are really fun. But what's fun about this is you can actually go through this and look and kind of circle and highlight where you are, because once again, looking at me, picking on myself, I'm blue, I'm green, and I have some hub. So I can look here and see that I definitely have some of these qualities, and when I get to these qualities, they're really helpful for me, and they're strengths of mine. So this is a big one. And then I look over here and I have a lot of the greens too, because I'm blue-green, which kind of fits. Not to say I don't have some of the reds and some of the hubs, but I have a lot of these. And so when I get these, what's really interesting as you explore this is these are the things you want to be on guard against. And you'll see if you overdo your strengths, if I become too reserved, then it leads me to become cold. And people will actually have called me out on this and said, hey, you seem very cold, and it's because one of my strengths is reserved, and if I'm overly reserved, I become cold. So I hope that explains that part. That's just a little taste of what's also available in the future with SDI. And SDI hopes, these are some of the goals worldwide in the collective SDI culture, to create effective relationships that are viewed as essential to the success of the individual and organization. Preventable conflict is eliminated. The third one's really key. All conflict is managed to create positive results and restore the self-worth of the parties involved. Fourth one is people's strengths are recognized and valued because their motives are understood by themselves and others. And lastly, people feel empowered to choose their behavior based on the intended result of the behavior. So I appreciate you taking this time. Let me know if you have any questions, and look forward to further debriefing with you and some great exercises. Thanks.